A big change is coming to how private schools in Delhi charge their school fees, and it directly affects lakhs of parents. It could be a precedent set as well for schools across India, private schools. The Delhi government has now brought a new law called the Delhi School Education Transparency in Fixation and Regulation of Fees Act 2025. In simple words, this law is meant to stop private schools from increasing fees whenever they want, arbitrarily. Now, originally, this law was supposed to start from 2025-26 academic year, but now it has been postponed. It will come into force from 2026-27 academic session. So, what does this law really actually do? It says schools cannot hike fees arbitrarily. Any increase will need approval from a committee that includes parent representatives and district authorities. If a school collects extra or unfair fees, it must refund that money within 20 days' time. The delay happened because the Supreme Court said introducing such a law in the middle of the academic year would be chaotic. So, for this current year, the old system continues, but next syllabus, the next year on, the new law will be implemented. Under the new laws, private unaided schools will have to basically clearly explain every fee that they charge, follow strict accounting rules, put limits on extra charges, and stop illegal practices like capitation fees. But not everyone, of course, is happy. Private school associations have gone to the Delhi High Court. They argue that this law interferes with their independence and their financial freedom. The court will now decide whether the law is fair and constitutional. So, all it clearly shows here that on one hand, you have parents who are almost crying, parents who are really upset that schools, private schools charge exorbitant fees, and not just in Delhi, across India, this is the same plea and request from parents to regulate school fees. And here on one hand, you have schools that says there are rising costs and they need to have the autonomy to fix school fees, of course, sensibly. Now, is this delay a sensible decision? Does it show a bigger fight between the government and private schools? Will this law finally protect parents from unfair fee hike, or will it put too much control in the hands of the government? Let me bring in Anubha Srivastava Sahai, educationist and president, India-wide Parent Association. We also have Mayank Arora, advocate of the Supreme Court. Thanks both of you for joining us. Let me start with Anubha. Would you welcome this law, Anubha?
I would say 80% because there are some flaws in the law. I have gone through the act. And the first and most important point which I would like to highlight is that the parents will not be able to challenge the fee being approved by the school level committee until unless 15% of the total number of parents in that school will come as a group together. So that is the biggest flaw in this act, that the individual parent or maybe a group of 2-3 parents will not be able to fight against the fee fixation or fee approval being given by the school level committee. Second point is that why we need a 2-level committee. We can always follow the Gujarat model, which has been approved by Honorable Supreme Court, where the schools have to give all the statements for verification to the state regulatory committee, that is the district level regulatory committee, which is being set up at district levels. Similarly, in Delhi also this can be done to avoid unnecessary delay in the fixation of the fees. So in Delhi, I would say that the act, no doubt, is a very good act, but there are some flaws which is going to delay the fee approval thing. And again, the parents are going to face a difficult time because they have no say as far as the challenge of this fee being approved at school level. They cannot challenge it until a group of 15% of total parents come together.
This law does allow for that. It says that parents could form a committee and they should also be consulted.
So let's see, in Maharashtra, there are many states where they are following the Maharashtra fee regulatory law, which is totally failed, which has totally failed. The school level committee in school, where the parents and teachers are being given power to fix the fees, to give approval to the fees. They are either being managed by the management in most of the schools, or some of the PTA members, executive members are being threatened also to give any kind of such approval. So that will, a school fee level committee, a committee at school level, I don't think will be able to give any justice to the parents, because most of them maybe could be managed by the management, and also not only the school level committee. The school is giving proposal that oh XYZ amount we'll be charging for the next three academic years, and the approval is being placed before the committee, which is at school level fee regulatory committee, where the management itself is one of the member. So how come they will
No, you're
justify the
saying
fee?
basically, you're saying they'll find loopholes in the law and basically not honor what the spirit of the law says. But yet, do you welcome this law? It still paves the
Yeah, I do
way
welcome,
and
because
in a
I do
way
welcome.
sort of streamlines school
Yeah,
fees.
yeah. I do welcome, because the Director of Education has been given suo power to monitor the proceedings before, which is happening before the school level fee committee and also the district level fee committee. So the Director of Education has been given suo power to monitor all the
Okay.
proceedings.
You know, Mayank
So that is a good.
Arora, if you could come in on this, you know, I honestly, I do understand what the parents have to say. We run schools, my family does. My mother is a principal herself, and you know she runs two schools, and I know the difficulties of being on the other end as well, right? As a school management, to really balance a school, manage it with the number of demands that the government comes up with, a whole list of fixes that you need to do every now and then. You know, systems need to change, you need to upgrade, update, whatnot, whatnot. But if you charge 1-2 rupees extra in school fees, hue and cry. The entire you know parent fraternity would pounce on you. So it's very difficult today to run a school. It's not so easy at the same time, right? So where's the thin line? Is there a way that there could be a balance where parents are not feeling slighted and shortchanged, and schools are also not feeling like they're sacrificing their entire life but really earning nothing?
So, Nabila, you rightly said, look, there has to be a balance. And I completely understand that the balancing of the interest for a school to become a loss-making institution vis-a-vis an institution that is a participant in the constitutional project of ensuring that our children get education at a reasonable price at a certain degree of affordability. I have the view that, look, you at one side under the RTE Act, you have to admit 25% of EWS students. On the other side,
Yeah.
the question is not 1-2 rupee of school fee increase. The question is a fee anarchy. I think that's what the law should aim to arrest. I'm absolutely not advocating that the school should be squeezed off vital funds and fee structures that will squeeze their infrastructures. I'm only saying that the balance has to be drawn where a fee anarchy vis-a-vis penury for the schools should be balanced. That's one part. But the second and the most important part, including the development that has happened today, is that for the current session, the fee structure will remain as on April 2025. That means whatever hike has already been done would not change in this financial year. And most of the time, the hue and cry has been about administrative inconvenience. Look, every reform, and this is where I support the parents and the children who need to get this education at a certain reasonable cost. Look, at this point in time, if we just say that administrative inconvenience is coming in the way, then every reform is an administrative inconvenience. Each time we have labor reforms, each time we have social reforms of any kind, it will cause inconvenience to people. The question is, whom are we causing inconvenience? At this stage, I'm not saying squeeze the schools of their funds, but at some point in time, we'll have to all agree that as a nation, as our schools, we are participants in the constitutional project of Article 21A, where we have to give our children compulsory education, compulsory primary education, and that too at a certain cost that does not violate access or does not deny access to children. I think that's the spirit in which this debate should be seen, to my humble opinion.
So, you know, that way if government itself sets up the best government schools, then half the problem is solved there, because then parents will not have really, will not hesitate like you have in the United States. The classic example of how government-run schools there are so top-notch that if you want private education and if you want, you know, a certain kind of teaching and you know, approach, then you pay for that. And you pay a handsome price without cribbing. But that demarcation is very clear there in the US, right? Government schools are also as good. They're very good. But here, there's this kind of disparity which is being, of course, you know, misused. Mayank, yet again, your take on how parents can, you know, because schools also don't like it when parents come as an association. You know, they feel threatened. That
Yes.
and parents are also, they can also breach a line. You know, you have protests that happen, and then, you know, it embarrasses the school's reputation is at stake. So all of that happens. It's a spiral. So it's a very delicate situation, and students are involved here. So you have to, you know, handle the situation very delicately. So how, I don't know, what do you think the law should
you're
be?
right. You're absolutely right, Nabila. I think one other perspective needs to come in. Look, I am clearly, again, not advocating the fact that, you know, we should reduce the schools to institutions where the fee is completely regulated and they're not able to, you know, they don't have any leeway for anything. I'm only saying that while you differentiate between government schools and private schools, then but education at the end of the day is not a luxury good. It is education, and most of the foreign universities and educational institutions, if you look at, their funding is not by exorbitant fee or so-called exorbitant fee in some cases, but by endowments. These students become citizens, become successful human beings, and then there are endowments and funds that come back to the schools in the form of participatory endowments that the students are willing to give back to the institution. So I think the larger
For
debate should be
example,
on.
what kind of endowments?
So when I say endowments, if you look at the examples of Harvard University, etc.,
Oh no,
they
please,
have
no,
huge corpuses
absolutely
of
not,
endowments.
absolutely not. Nobody comes back to give their alma mater anything. That does not happen in
No,
India.
look, this is the question is, where are we headed and where do we need to head as a nation?
Yeah. No, but what I'm
Education
saying is,
still.
as much as I feel for the parents, there should be some respect to the fact that the school is providing a certain kind of education with a certain approach. And if that style suits you, great. If it does not, move your child to a school that suits you better. Should there not be enough autonomy even for the schools? Why, you know, parents saying that we want the same education but don't want to pay? That also comes down to that, right?
No, I am also opposed to the idea of parents saying that, look, we want quality teachers, we want quality education,
Correct.
but
And
we
teachers are
want to
not
pay
paid
for
enough.
nothing.
Teachers are hardly paid.
I know the quality of pay that our teachers get in our country, we're all aware of it.
Yeah.
I'm saying also, let's not be unreasonable and say that, look, let's not pay anything to the teachers or the quality of education and infra and want to get our children educated. That's not the idea I'm perpetrating. I'm saying there's a larger constitutional debate around this subject. We'll need to figure out how to balance it.
So you're
Just
saying
that,
this
look,
law,
in
you're saying
that,
this new law doesn't do it entirely.
I am saying this law has scope for the schools to have a say in regulating their own fee also. Like we were told by the other panelists that, you know, there are certain shortcomings, as she calls it. But I feel that that certain degree of autonomy within the school committee also should exist. Because there are certain realities, because look, rightfully the schools are also arguing that the consumers of the service itself cannot decide what the service will cost.
That's precisely what I was also asking. But Anubha, you wanted to come in on this.
I think my panelist has not understood what I meant to say. What I have said that this two-level fee regulatory system should be abolished. The school fee regulatory committee at school level is not required only. The schools can fix their own fees and they can get it approved from the fee regulatory authority at district level or from the director of education. We don't need a school level committee at school, any fee regulatory committee at school level. That's what I meant to say. And if you're having a committee at school level, then why you need a management in that committee, first of all. And if you want an autonomy is there, no doubt. You are allowed to fix your fees. You're allowed to propose a fees also.
No, but why in the first place has this rule come about? Anubhav, a quick one from you. Why in the first place has this rule come about?
See, the rule has come because the schools are charging exorbitantly. I'll give you an example of Maharashtra. How we have in one of the school, there's a district fee regulatory committee which exists. Now it is not existing because of some issues. The judges are not available, or maybe I don't know the issue. What is the issue in Maharashtra? But in one of the case, the school has charged exorbitantly. They have increased the fees up to 30%. That is happening all over India. I'm giving just an example of Maharashtra. And when we put up the proposal, when we challenge the fee, the approval.
So 30% year on year or 30% after a few years?
30% after 4 years. I'm giving an example. 30% after 4 years.
So that's unfair. You're saying 30% after 4 years is unfair?
No. Let me clarify. That also we challenged before the fee regulatory committee, and the surplus was huge. So we demanded a rollback, and the fee was reduced from 30% to 5%. That's what I'm saying. Schools are making huge profit, which the
No, but for
government
4
is
years,
ignoring.
Mayank, 4
Or
years
declare,
later,
see,
at
declare
school
the
charging a
profit-making
30%
institution,
fee
na.
hike is unfair.
Declare the, see, declare
No, no,
them a profit-making
I think
institution.
slightly different,
I
Nabila.
mean, but
So
that way,
I'm not.
you know, expenses are going up. 4 years, it's not like your
No, I'm
expenses
saying,
remain the
That's what
same,
look,
no?
I'm trying
we
to
all agree.
say. That
We all
madam,
agree that the schools.
whatever
Let
they are,
Anuba
the
speak first.
expenses were what they show in income tax, or they show to income tax, or what they show in their income and expenditure account, is they show more expenses, whereas they're not making expenditure to that amount. If the school is showing that we have paid x amount to the teachers, they're not paying that amount. If the school is saying that we are utilizing all the infrastructure, that is also not happening
But then the
practically.
problem
In
becomes
some
the
of the
audit
schools, I'm
norms
not
that
saying
should
all
be
the
in place.
schools. I'm not denying. I'm not saying that
Fix.
all
Okay,
the
I
schools
get it. I
are.
get what you're trying to say. You're saying that the school
There are
tries
some
to
schools.
justify a 30% raise, but that justification isn't really
Justify. That is
landing.
what the Delhi School
Because
Education
they're
Act
not
talks
upgrading their
about.
infrastructure, they're not upgrading their curriculum, but yet they're
That's
claiming
what.
to
That is
do
what the.
that
Yes.
and take money. That is wrong. Ethically, that is wrong,
Yeah.
right?
That's
So
true.
on
I'm
ethical
not saying
grounds,
that
you
all
want
the
better
schools are.
clarity
Nabila,
on why that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayank?
I'm not
Right.
dismissing the fact that, look, there have to be stricter audit norms to know that
Yes.
whether the expenses, like Anuba also said, are being accounted for correctly and
Right.
the profits are not being deflated only for namesake. But I'm
Right.
also of the opinion that, look, if, see, we all agree that the schools, they have a constitutional duty, our education system has a constitutional duty, therefore they are not purely private profit oriented institutions, so we can obviously cap the kind of profit that a school is allowed to make while taking care of all the expenses. So at no point in time, Nabila, I'm saying that the expenses should be curtailed. I'm saying they should be accounted for rightly, and then schools are
Right.
obviously institutions, privately run institutions, entitled to certain profits.
Correct.
So there, I think the parents also have to understand that, look, there is an institution that runs on resources, and the resources have to be paid, and the institution is a private one, and therefore, despite the constitutional duty, there has to be some degree of profits in the venture. Otherwise, no private player would want to get into that space.
Correct.
But at
Now,
the same
yeah,
time,
I can tell you with experience that people do not want to start schools anymore because you're only bleeding. There's nothing that you really make out of it, right? Unless you have a massive acres of property and you're doing all the small schools, budget schools, mid-level schools are really bleeding, and no help from the government either. Zero help.
I feel
and
government
therefore
A
the
lot of
should
schools
funding
have
also
now
shut
support.
becomes a
down
problem,
during
Nabila,
COVID.
right?
A
I
lot of
feel
So
schools shut down.
we all come back to the funding
that is
problem,
wrong.
or
I
how the
feel that
funds and
government
the
should also
profit should be
support
given
the
to the
private
schools.
schools. I feel that government should also support the private schools which are not
Yeah,
making profit,
correct,
and government should recognize those schools which
correct.
are actually giving quality education
Correct.
and
I
with
totally agree with you.
affordability.
I wish that
Yeah.
happened, right? But that isn't. I can say with experience. But anyway, I really appreciate both of you, and I'll surely call you back on the next one when the rule is actually implemented to see how that goes there. Thank you.
Thank you, Nabila.